Tab Talks presents Let's Make Crawfish Bisque. The rise of commercial aquacultures in the United States has not been without its challenges. One small industry that's been a success story is the crawfish industry in the southern United States. This industry's hub is located in Louisiana, and over the past decade, the yield has ranged anywhere from 10 to 27 tons. And these yields are based on consumer consumption and for fisheries who utilize crawfish for bait. Crawfish are harvested from the wetlands of the lower Mississippi River, and the Louisiana cultural phenomenon dates back to the 18th century. Because of massive Chinese imports that have severely hampered the U.S. market, whereas in 1989 there were over 100 crawfish processing plants in Louisiana, today there are less than a dozen. But today we are going to learn how to prepare crawfish bisque, a delicacy of French origin. But first, a little history.
In Louisiana, crawfish are caught, cooked, cleaned, and of course consumed. Crawfish contribute to the economy through job opportunities, farm income, and wholesale and retail sales. Now through marketing campaigns, crawfish are being enjoyed outside of their traditional marketplace, with the opportunity for further expansion. With all of this going for crawfish, it's time to celebrate Louisiana's culinary crustacean. Fortunately, the peak production of crawfish in Louisiana coincides with peak demand. Most of the domestic supply is consumed in Louisiana and surrounding southern states, in particularly Texas and along the coast of Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. Crawfish are initially marketed live for farmers, and a large portion of final sales to consumers are for live crawfish. Live crawfish demands the highest prices, with the largest animals bringing the premium prices. Producers of large crawfish have a competitive advantage, especially when the supply of crawfish exceeds demand. Most producers sell live crawfish to a primary wholesaler or processor, although a limited supply is sold directly to retail stores, restaurants, and consumers. Highest demand by consumers and restaurants is on weekends, with limited retail sales early in the week. The live product, with its restricted shelf life of no more than several days, largely dictates harvesting schedules and market plans. Shelf life also effectively limits regional and national distribution. Whether served in households or retail outlets, live crawfish are typically boiled and consumed hot and fresh in a festive atmosphere. Crawfish boils are generally associated with social occasions, and no food exemplifies the Cajun cultural atmosphere like boiled crawfish coupled with spicy vegetables and cold beverages. When crawfish are abundant or when live markets become saturated, a portion of the annual crop is processed and sold as fresh or frozen tail meat. The most popular processed product is cooked, hand-peeled, and deveined meat, which is sold in 12-ounce or 1-pound packages. This package may be packed with or without the yellow liver-like tissue, commonly referred to as the fat. This edible tissue is flavorful and an important condiment in Louisiana cuisine. The processed meat yield for cooked crawfish is about 15% of live weight. Immature crawfish yield 4 to 5% more meat than mature individuals because they have smaller claws and thinner shells. Cooking time and peeling technique can also influence meat yield because all processing is by hand. Crawfish meat is used in many ways and can substitute in many shrimp recipes. The amount of crawfish processed for tail meat in Louisiana varies annually, but since the introduction of inexpensive crawfish meat from China, less than 10% of the annual crop is now processed for meat. Another product form is cooked whole crawfish, usually served fresh and hot. Traditionally, crawfish in the southern U.S. are cooked with red pepper-based spices and seasonings, often with onions, potatoes, and corn that complement the meal. The consumer extracts the edible portions of the crawfish by hand. Increasingly popular in Louisiana and within the range of delivery for live crawfish outside of Louisiana are retail outlets and restaurants serving hot boiled crawfish. Small seasonally operated takeout outlets have developed wherever live crawfish can be readily obtained, and many businesses also cater boiled crawfish to large groups, parties, and festivals using custom boiling rigs. Grading by size is usually not practiced early in the production season when supply is low and demand is high for crawfish of all sizes. But as the volume of crawfish increases in early spring, size grading becomes a standard practice for servicing the market demand for large crawfish. Nearly all grading occurs at wholesale outlets or processing plants using modified vegetable graders or custom-made graders. Currently, no uniform size or grade standards exist for crawfish, as with other seafoods, hindering market development and expansion. But based on a number of production and marketing conditions, crawfish are typically graded into three classes. Larger crawfish are sold to restaurants, with the smallest being processed for meat or blended with larger individuals for large volume sales. In Louisiana, prices declined from 40 to 55% for field-run crawfish within several weeks during peak production if crawfish size decreases. But the price drop for larger crawfish is substantially less. In some instances, large crawfish command a wholesale price 2 to 3 times higher than medium or small crawfish. As a rule of thumb, the wholesale price for a pound of crawfish meat is 10 to 12 times higher than the wholesale price of a pound of live crawfish. To provide a more appealing product for live market, a small number of producers have adopted the practice of purging crawfish before selling them. Crawfish are confined in water or very humid conditions where food is withheld for 12 to 24 hours. This process cleans away mud and debris and eliminates or reduces digesta in the intestine, which consumers find unappealing. This method should not be confused with the practice of immersing crawfish in salt water immediately before boiling, which is not effective in evacuating the gut and is little more than an external wash. Some people who have eaten crawfish for many years are accustomed to non-purged crawfish and do not find them objectionable, although many prefer purged if the cost was reasonable. The abrasive action of crawfish together during purging effectively polishes the shells. However, for non-purged animals and excessively stained batches of crawfish, processors may do further cleaning. External cleaning of live crawfish with ascorbic or citric acid and baking soda is becoming increasingly common. High survival during transport and storage begins by ensuring crawfish are handled properly and harvested from ponds with good water quality. Crawfish should be transported to on-the-farm coolers or to market as soon after harvest as possible and protected from excessive wind and bright sunlight. Sacks should not be stacked so high that crawfish on the bottom are crushed. Sacks of live crawfish in good physiological condition can be held in high humidity coolers at 38 to 46 degrees for up to several days prior to peeling or consumption. Gill moisture is crucial for survival of crawfish held in coolers. This is usually accomplished by periodic wetting of the crawfish or placement of wet burlap or ice over the sacks of crawfish. Chilled crawfish can be placed in stackable plastic tote boxes inside the cooler with the top tote filled with ice. Melting ice is allowed to trickle down through the totes to provide the necessary moisture. Placing non-chilled crawfish in totes is not recommended because damage can occur to the crawfish as a result of the claws of the animals. For years, crawfish have been a Louisiana cultural icon. Now it seems much of the Southeast is learning that crawfish are more than just good catfish bait. They contribute to the economy by providing jobs and additional income to farmers at a time of depressed commodity prices. Best of all, crawfish is a delicacy any time of the year, with boiled crawfish being a springtime favorite and the centerpiece of backyard celebrations across Louisiana and maybe one day soon throughout the Southeast and beyond.
Hey, what's up everybody, I'm Charlie, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make my delicious New Orleans crawfish bisque. This recipe is more of a modern recipe. There's quite a bit of work and preparation involved, but it is well worth it. It serves up to 10 or more people, it's delicious, and it's one of New Orleans' most popular dishes. So let's get started. Here is all what you will need to make your New Orleans crawfish bisque. You will need 4 pounds of boiled Louisiana crawfish, and this is about 100 individual medium to small size crawfish. And along with that, you will need 2 pounds of authentic Louisiana crawfish tails, all-purpose flour, plain breadcrumbs, canola oil, unsalted butter, and for your seasonings you will need some salt, Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. Now if you don't have this, you can use the Zatarain's Creole seasoning or the Slap Your Mama Creole seasoning. You will also need some Chef Paul Prud'homme's Seafood Magic, cayenne pepper, and for your additional seasonings you will need 2 yellow onions, 4 stalks of celery, 2 bell peppers, garlic, fresh thyme, and bay leaves. And for your next ingredient, this is optional, you will need 6 ounces of Hunt's tomato paste, no salt added. And for your tools, you will need an 11 by 17 inch baking pan, a disposable piping bag, and this next tool is optional, a food processor. Chop 1 yellow onion and a half of a yellow onion. Rinse your celery off before you chop it. Chop 4 stalks of celery. Make sure you remove the core out of the center of your bell pepper before you chop it. Chop 1 bell pepper and a half of a bell pepper. Here I have 5 cloves of garlic. We're going to chop that up until it's minced. Here I have some fresh thyme. We're going to start by removing the leaves off the stem of the thyme. Bunch all the leaves together. And we're going to chop the thyme up until it resembles coarse crumbs. Now this is 1 tablespoon of thyme that I have here. Here I have 1 crawfish. Now we're going to start by separating the tail from the head of the crawfish. Now we're going to take the crawfish tail and we're going to place that into one bowl, and we're going to take the crawfish head and place that into a separate bowl. And this is how it looks when we're done. As you can see, we separated the crawfish heads from the crawfish tails, and this is all 4 pounds of crawfish. Peel the shell off of the crawfish tail. Now you're going to take all the shells from the crawfish tail and you're going to place that into a bowl. Now here we have the crawfish tail, and we're just going to devein that by pulling the black string out. And as simple as that. And you're going to take the crawfish tail and place that into a separate bowl. Here we have a crawfish head. Insert thumb into the crawfish head. Pull the legs outward without causing damage to the shell of the crawfish head. And you want to make sure that the crawfish legs are separated from the shell of the crawfish head. Now you're going to take your crawfish legs and you're going to place them into a bowl, and you're going to take your crawfish head shells and place them into a separate bowl. Here we have the lower body cavity of the crawfish head. Normally there's the organs right in the middle here. You're going to take a butter knife and you're just going to scrape that out. And you can also dip this in some water. Here we have the crawfish head shell. To clean it out, you're going to take a butter knife and you're going to scrape against the insides of the crawfish head shell. Once done, you're going to dip each crawfish head shell into some water. And you're going to also do the same for the lower body cavity of the crawfish. And this is how it looks when we're done. Now in this bowl here we have our crawfish body cavities / crawfish legs. We're going to take that and make a stock with that. And here we have our crawfish tail shells. We're going to take and make a stock with this as well. And over here in this bowl we have our crawfish head shells, which we've cleaned. And here we have our crawfish tails. Now this is 3/4 of a pound of crawfish tails. Now you're going to place this into your refrigerator. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. Now let's make the crawfish stock. In a large pot, add 5 quarts of water. Let's add some seasoning. Add 2 teaspoons of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning and 2 teaspoons of Chef Paul Prud'homme's Seafood Magic. Give this a quick stir. Let this come to a simmer. Our mixture is at a simmer now. Add your crawfish body cavities / crawfish legs. And add your crawfish tail shells. Give that a quick stir. Cover with lid. Let simmer for 1 hour. It's been about an hour now, and our crawfish stock is now done. Turn your fire off. Drain your crawfish stock into a strainer with a large bowl underneath it. You can discard your crawfish body cavities, legs, and crawfish tail shells. And there we have it, crawfish stock made from scratch. Taste test your crawfish stock to see if it's at your desired taste. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. Now let's get started with our roux. We're using a wooden spatula, of course. Add 2/3 cup of canola oil. Let the oil get hot for 2 minutes. Add 2/3 cup of flour. Stir all your ingredients together. You're going to continue to stir this for 8 minutes or until the roux reaches a brown color. It's been about 8 minutes now, and our roux has reached a brown color. Then turn your fire off. You're going to continue to stir this until the roux thins out. Our roux has thinned out. Now you're going to set this aside and let the roux cool completely. In a food processor, add 3/4 pound of crawfish tails. Now these are the same crawfish tails that we got from our boiled Louisiana crawfish. And to that we're going to add 1 pound of the Louisiana crawfish tails. Blend all your ingredients for 1 minute. Now if you don't have this, you can use a knife to chop up your crawfish tails. And this is how it looks when we're done. As you can see, that's nice and grounded. Looks good. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. Now let's make the crawfish stuffing. In a large saucepan, add 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Spread the butter along the bottom of the pan. Let the butter melt. Now let's add some seasoning. Add 1 cup of chopped yellow onion. 2/3 cup of chopped celery. 2/3 cup of chopped green bell pepper. And 1 tablespoon of chopped garlic. Stir all your ingredients together. Let this saute for 8 minutes. It's been about 8 minutes now. Add your grounded crawfish tails. Stir all your ingredients together. Add 1.5 cups of crawfish stock and 1/3 cup of plain breadcrumbs. Stir all your ingredients together. Let's add some seasoning. Add 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, 1 teaspoon of Chef Papadome's Seafood Magic, and a 1/2 teaspoon of thyme. Stir all your ingredients together. Turn your fire off. And our crawfish stuffing is now done. let this cool completely. I added the piping bag into a large cup. Add the crawfish stuffing into the piping bag. And this is how it looks when we're done. Here we have our pastry bag filled with crawfish stuffing, and here we have our crawfish head shell. We're going to fill the crawfish head shell with the crawfish stuffing. Now you can fill up to 110 of these crawfish head shells with the stuffing. And this is how it looks when we're done. Now if you have any crawfish stuffing left over, you're going to take some plain breadcrumbs and place it into your hand, and you're going to pipe a small amount of the crawfish stuffing, and you're going to roll that into a ball. And this is how it looks when we're done. Butter the bottom of your baking pan. Preheat your oven to 325 degrees. Take your stuffed crawfish heads and place them into your baking pan. Now, as you can see in the back here, we have our crawfish stuffing balls. We have 13 of those. Now it's ready to be baked. Place into a preheated 325 degree oven. Bake for 30 minutes. Remove your stuffed crawfish heads and your crawfish stuffing balls out of the oven after baking on 325 degrees for 30 minutes. You're going to let this cool completely or until you make your bisque. So let's get started with that. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. In a large pot, add 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Spread the butter along the bottom of the pan. Let the butter melt. Now let's add some seasoning. Add 1 cup of chopped yellow onion, 2/3 cup of chopped celery, 2/3 cup of chopped green bell pepper, and 1 tablespoon of chopped garlic. Stir all your ingredients together. Let this saute for 8 minutes. Now here I have my roux. Now as you can see, that's pretty thick. That's because I've removed some of the oil from it. I'm going to add this into the pot. Stir all your ingredients together. Add 3 quarts of crawfish stock. Give this a quick stir. Let this come to a simmer. Taste your crawfish stock to see if it's at your desired taste. If not, you can add more seasoning. Add 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, 1 teaspoon of Chef Paul Seafood Magic, 2 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of fresh thyme, 3 bay leaves, and 5 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now remember, the tomato paste is optional. Stir all your ingredients together. Cover with lid. Let simmer for 1 hour and 10 minutes. been about an hour and 10 minutes now. Gonna give that a quick stir. Add your 1 pound of Louisiana crawfish tails. Stir all your ingredients together. You're gonna let this come to a simmer first, then you're gonna let it simmer for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, turn your fire off. Add your stuffed crawfish heads. Give that a quick stir. Add your crawfish stuffing balls in there as well. Give that a quick stir. And your crawfish bisque is now done. Quick tips: your crawfish bisque will thicken as it cools. For best results, let come to room temperature and place into your refrigerator overnight. That way the flavors can settle and increase. Also, the stuffing in the crawfish heads and the crawfish stuffing balls can absorb all of the flavors. Here is the final presentation. And there you have it, crawfish bisque. If you like my channel, you can subscribe to it. You can also check out this recipe along with all of my other recipes, as well as contact me or donate to the channel. Visit www.charliethecookandrews.com. You can also like, follow, or contact me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/CharlieTheCookAndrews. Stay tuned as Charlie's Taste Test is coming up next. Now it's time for Charlie's Taste Test. Oh man, look at this. Crawfish bisque. Woo! You could taste that crawfish along with all the seasonings that we added. I mean, very delicious, and it has a nice spiciness to it. Love it. Go ahead and try one of these crawfish heads. Try to get the stuffing out there the best way I can. The stuffing is nice, well seasoned. Then again, you have that flavor from the crawfish stock that we added. And not only that, by the crawfish bisque sitting overnight, the crawfish stuffing literally soaked into all that crawfish stock and all those seasonings that we added. I mean, it is so good. Delicious. I'm telling y'all, try the recipe. I know it's a lot of hard work and preparation involved, but it's well worth it. So give the recipe a try. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, crawfish bisque made by a New Orleans native. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Until next time, take care, and I hope you all have a blessed day. Peace.